My son Samuel out in the garden dressed as Cinderella. It was one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. Now, 2 years ago, that little boy dressed as Cinderella became a little girl. This is my daughter, Sadie Rose Fagan, and we just recently celebrated her 8th birthday.
I don't understand. I don't understand, bitch. I don't understand. I don't understand, bitch.
Hello, I'm not Jewish. Anyway, my name is Nick Rigdon, and welcome. I have my Bible just in case we need to throw it at anyone, because we are filled with Christ's love. So the November 3rd, 2020 election is actually nearing in a couple of days. What are you guys doing? I have cats. Now, what a lot of people are focusing on is the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden email scandal, along with the China Communist Party, along with Ukraine, along with whistleblowers. But what I really wanted to focus on was something else that was brought up during Joe Biden's presidential town hall. Kids transitioning at the age of 8. Can we talk about that? And trans means transitioning from one gender to another, not to an alien species. Okay, let's get that out of the way.
I'm the proud mom of 2 girls, 8 and 10. My youngest daughter is transgender. The Trump administration has attacked the rights of transgender people, banning them from military service, weakening non-discrimination protections, and even removing the word transgender from some government websites. How will you, as president, reverse this dangerous and discriminatory agenda and ensure that the lives and rights of LGBTQ people are protected under US law?
Well, flat out just change the law. And these 2 men, well-dressed, leaned up and hugged one another and kissed one another. I'm getting out of the car at the light, and I turned to my dad. My dad looked at me and said, "Joey, it's simple. They love each other."
The whole transgender military ban, it's because transgender people have a mental illness called gender dysphoria. They don't really want people with mental illnesses carrying a bunch of guns and having the codes to nuclear shit. Remember when this whole thing was a big deal and everyone was saying it's a right to join the military? Number one, no, it's not. They can turn you down at any time. They're the military. They don't have to accept you. What? He started going into a story about gay men. Pretty much a bullshit story about how his father saw 2 gay men kissing at a public pool, and he said, "That's love." The question was about transgender rights. If I were a leftist, I would be kind of pissed that he didn't actually answer the question, but just gave a platitude about this bullshit story about how his dad saw 2 guys kissing in a public pool. What does that have to do with anything about transgender rights? All you gays, like the leftist gays. He didn't give you an answer. Are you happy with that? And he's voted no to same-sex marriage for 47 years. Do you think he's changed? Why didn't he tell the story why didn't that story pop up in his head when he was saying, no, marriage is between a man and a woman? It's because he made it up.
What? Oh. Okay.
Now, me being a part of the LGBT community, I'm starting to see a huge push in action for both acceptance and tolerance of young kids transitioning. I don't agree with that. And number one, I will state, I believe it is the new homophobia. Instead of having a little kid who likes to play with dolls and dress up and actually just might grow up to be a gay man, instead, liberal people are starting to think that their child is either transgender, needs to be put in a dress. But what they aren't considering is that this may be actually homophobic, because this is actually how a lot of gay men started in their lives, by playing with dolls or playing with things that were more feminine in nature. And all of a sudden, they are starting to think about transitioning them instead of just letting them grow up into gay men. In Kentucky, and being a young gay kid, I used to play with Barbie dolls. I had Ariel, Pocahontas, and I also had Bionicles. But if I was born today, I wonder how many times people would start asking the question if I was transgender, instead of just being gay. Many of the parents, instead of actually seeing their young men have more feminine attributes and thinking that they're gay, will automatically start thinking, oh, do I have to transition this kid? Number one example of this is I was recently watching Dave Rubin along with an interview with a sex therapist.
The trans issue, I've talked about this with Douglas Murray and with Rob Smith and a couple other people, is that in many ways the trans movement now seems almost perversely anti-gay, meaning that if you're an effeminate young boy, they would rather see you transition to be female rather than accept that you actually are just a gay male. So I also think, just for me personally, it's particularly weird because I played with G.I. Joes and Transformers, so no one thought I was gay per se, right? But I have friends that were boys that played with Barbies, and people thought they were gay when they were 5. And that if they now, even though they're maybe in their 40s now, if they were growing up now and they were 4 years old, 5 years old doing that, they would have been put through transition. And that seems sort of anti-gay, doesn't it?
100%. 100%. And myself, as we talked last time I was with you, I grew up in the gay community. I find this very upsetting. I have countless friends who have reached out to me over the years saying, you know, Deborah, if I were growing up now, I probably would have transitioned, because this is such a common thing when you are a young child who is likely going to grow up to be gay. You tend to be gender atypical and have interests that are gender atypical and are friends of the opposite sex. So that's been a huge concern of mine, especially we talked also about how transitioning now, I consider, and I think many in the field would agree, that it is like the new conversion therapy, where if you have a healthy gay child who, say you have a little boy who's very feminine, I think some parents have a sense there's a chance he's going to grow up to be gay. So if he's attracted to men when he's older, if he transitions to female as a child, when he grows up, he's going to appear to be a straight woman. Mm-hmm. So that, I mean, and I think homophobia does play a role in terms of the parents who, not for all of them, but for some of them who are so on board with this and who are championing this movement. And then there's another layer, I think, of anti-gay sentiments, in that you have some individuals, some trans women, not all, who are saying, you know, if I'm a woman and I still have body parts that would be considered male, if you are attracted to women, you should be wanting to have sex with me. And I don't think that's okay either. I think it's totally fine if people are open to having, I think trans people do deserve love and respect, but I also don't think it's right to impose on people.
The other thing to take into consideration is that these kids are almost too young to understand almost anything about life. They don't quite understand or comprehend the complexities of sex, love, and marriage. Let's be honest, we don't know what we're doing, really. Like, none of us really. Now, I was young enough to remember a whole time before gay marriage was actually legal, and a lot of the conservatives were really concerned not with just gay marriage, but what else it could lead to. And boy, did you leftists prove them right. Really, we got gay marriage, and all of a sudden it's like we have to have 20 million different genders because people are confused about what gender they are. Conservatives were worried about everything that is currently happening now. They actually had a right to be worried. Now we're putting kids on hormone blockers just because they show an interest in a Barbie doll. And we don't even know what the side effects are to these hormone blockers, because there hasn't been a great extensive study on it.
It was all a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
Now, I am very happy that a lot of gays, lesbians, bisexual, and transgender people are actually standing up and fighting for their right to be heard or to switch their vote from Democrat to, for the first time in a long time, red. If you are a gay person that's interested in getting involved into more of the politically LGBT side of the issue, then I highly suggest you follow Outspoken. Now, I highly suggest that you go to their Twitter or you go to their Instagram. And I am a part of this community too, so I would like to see you all in this community. Yes, these groups do exist and they do help you, even if you do it in secret, even if you type, I don't agree all the time, but that's okay. Anyway, my name is Nick Rigdon. Thank you, kings and queens, for watching. If you could, please subscribe to me. If you want to, please share. That's only if you want to. Please leave a like, because that doesn't make me feel validated at all. No, I need validation, please. I'm still doing this, and I have like what, over like maybe 1,000 views. Wow. I'm doing great. I'm doing great out here. Anyway, thanks guys. Have a wonderful and blessed day. Bye, kings and queens.